The ocean disappeared overnight, and by morning, the world was staring at something no human had ever seen. Ships were no longer floating. They were lying on the ocean floor, surrounded by a world that had suddenly become impossible. But the missing water was only the beginning. Something far more dangerous was already changing beneath the planet. The disappearance of the water had exposed something else. The ocean floor itself was beginning to change.
Entire ecosystems had been exposed to the air, leaving millions of creatures trapped on land that had never seen sunlight.
Scientists rushed to the coast, but nobody could explain where trillions of tons of seawater had gone.
Satellite data made the situation even more terrifying. The disappearance was happening across the entire planet.
And then the scientists discovered the first clue, that the disappearance was not random. It was happening everywhere at once.
The ground suddenly shook violently, forcing everyone to realize that the missing oceans were triggering something much larger.
And then the scientists discovered the first clue. The disappearance was not random. It was happening everywhere at once.
Across the planet, earthquakes began multiplying, turning the disappearance into a rapidly escalating global disaster.
Geologists discovered enormous pressure changes beneath the seabed, spreading rapidly beneath continents and former coastlines.
Emergency teams moved toward higher ground, while the empty basin behind them continued collapsing without warning.
Entire sections of the exposed seabed collapsed, swallowing roads, equipment, and everything built across the newly revealed landscape. But the strangest discovery was still ahead. The atmosphere itself was beginning to react to the missing oceans.
Rescue teams began saving stranded marine life, but the scale of the disaster was far beyond human capacity. Global shipping stopped almost instantly, leaving enormous vessels stranded hundreds of kilometers from the newly formed coastlines.
Millions living beside the ocean suddenly faced a terrifying question. What happens when their entire coastline disappears?
Then a worldwide atmospheric signal appeared, warning scientists that Earth's climate system was entering completely unknown territory. Far from the coast, farmers discovered another crisis. Without ocean moisture, weather patterns were beginning to collapse. Without oceans regulating heat, moisture, weather patterns began changing faster than scientists had predicted. Mountain snow began disappearing earlier, threatening rivers that millions of people depend on for fresh water.
Without the oceans absorbing enormous amounts of heat, global temperatures began rising far faster than anyone expected.
Cities far from the vanished coast suddenly faced dangerous heat, forcing millions indoors, and overwhelming emergency services. Then something unprecedented formed. Enormous storms began developing over the dry ocean basins themselves. For the first time, satellites showed the world a storm system forming, where oceans had existed only days earlier.
Wildlife began moving toward the last remaining water sources, creating enormous migrations across regions that had never seen them.
The enormous storm finally reached the exposed basin, unleashing winds unlike anything the scientists had ever recorded. Then the impossible happened. Rain began filling the deepest cracks, creating the first new waterways across the empty basin. The samples revealed something astonishing. The missing water had not vanished completely. Earth was moving it somewhere else.
The evidence suggested that enormous amounts of water had been forced deep underground, changing the planet forever.
Over time, underground pressure reversed, sending water back toward the surface and slowly rebuilding the vanished oceans. The oceans returned, but humanity learned one unforgettable lesson. Earth's balance is far more fragile than we imagine. The experiment revealed why oceans matter. They regulate heat, drive weather patterns, and help stabilize Earth's climate. Human civilization depends on oceans far beyond coastlines, from food and trade to climate and countless global industries.
Look here.
Oceans also support enormous ecosystems, producing a significant share of the oxygen entering Earth's atmosphere every year.
They produce oxygen. This supports life.
Sometimes imagining an impossible world helps us understand the real one and appreciate what surrounds us every day. The oceans may seem endless and ordinary, but without them, the world we know would become almost unrecognizable. If the oceans disappeared tomorrow, humanity would discover just how much of civilization depends on something we barely notice. In the real world, oceans quietly support jobs, food, transportation, culture, and communities across almost every continent. After imagining the oceans gone, even an ordinary wave suddenly feels like one of Earth's greatest miracles. The ocean is not just water, it is part of the system that makes our world habitable, alive, and recognizable.